My family loves my ex and invites her to all our gatherings. Imagine breaking up with someone only to find out your family didn't break up with her. Every holiday, every birthday, every family-only gathering, my ex is right there, smiling like nothing ever happened. And the worst part? They love her.
Hey, story lover. Welcome to the Narrative Hub, Reddit Stories. Believe me, this adventure gets wild, but it's only epic with you. Seriously, you make this possible. Want more stories? Greater adventure? Smash subscribe right now. Smash like. Comment below. Let's go.
That sickening feeling of walking into a room and having the air knocked out of your lungs, that's my default setting now. It started simply enough. The first time, 3 months after the split with Olivia, it was my nephew's 5th birthday. I, James Anderson, walked in, genuinely trying to be the fun uncle, and there she was, Olivia, helping my own mother, frost the cake. Not just standing there, but genuinely laughing with her. A deep, comfortable, shared moment of domestic bliss that I used to be a part of. The sight hit me like a physical blow. When I finally found my voice to ask my brother, Robert, what in the absolute hell she was doing there, he just shrugged, busy chasing his own kid. She said she wanted to see the little guy. Mom invited her. Simple, casual, as if I hadn't just had a very messy, painful, year-long relationship implode. The shock wore off, replaced by a cold, cutting fury. I avoided her that day, clinging to the edge of the room, watching how easily she slipped back into the family dynamic. She knew everyone's stories, knew the private family jokes. She wasn't a guest, she was a fixture, and they treated her like one. My cousins Laura and Eric, who had known her for 5 years, hugged her tighter than they hugged me. I tried to pull my father, Paul, aside. He just patted my arm, his eyes distant. "She's a sweet girl, son. Don't make things difficult. It's just cake." That's what they all said. It's just a gathering. It's just a dinner. But it wasn't just anything. It was a calculated, continuous invasion of my post-breakup sanity. They were essentially telling me that my boundaries didn't matter, my pain was inconvenient, and her presence was preferable to my peace. The tension ratcheted up 6 months later at my sister Stephanie's engagement party. This was the first time I brought someone new, Jessica Thomas. I was proud, finally moving forward, trying to show my family that I was fine, great even. We walked in, Jessica looking stunning, and for one blissful second, I thought I had won. Then I saw Olivia. She wasn't just there, she was organizing the seating chart, clipboard in hand, looking every bit the capable, cherished member of the inner circle. My sister Stephanie rushed over to greet us, but she kept looking past me, a nervous tick in her eye. She pulled me close for a hug and whispered, not lovingly but urgently, "James, listen, Olivia has been a huge help with the planning. Just be cool, please." Be cool. As Jessica stood there, an unreadable look of polite bewilderment spreading across her face, I felt the ground disappear. It wasn't a family reunion, it was a showcase, a cruel, passive-aggressive comparison. The contrast between my new, beautiful, slightly awkward girlfriend and my perfectly integrated, effortlessly charming ex was stark and humiliating. Olivia caught my eye, a flash of something unreadable. Pity? Triumph? Before she offered Jessica a smile that was too wide, too gracious. "Hello, James. It's lovely to finally meet your friend. I'm Olivia. I'm helping Stephanie out." The whole night was a slow burn disaster. Jessica tried, she truly did, but every conversation led back to Olivia. "Oh, Olivia knows how I like my tea. Olivia remembers that story." It felt less like an engagement party and more like a farewell tour for my new relationship, orchestrated by my ex and applauded by my family. The climax of the evening came during the toasts. My father stood up, and after a few heartfelt words for Stephanie, he veered wildly off course. He started talking about the meaning of family, about enduring bonds, and then he looked directly at Olivia, raising his glass. "And to Olivia, she may not be legally family, but she is family to us in every way that counts. We love you, kid." The silence that followed was suffocating. I saw Jessica's face drain of color. The message was clear. My blood relatives had openly, publicly chosen a side, and it wasn't mine. I didn't need to say a word. Jessica put her half-full glass down, gave me a sorrowful look that screamed, "I can't do this," and slipped out the back door. My father, oblivious, sat down, pleased with his emotional moment. I didn't chase Jessica. I walked straight up to Olivia. The competitiveness, the slow-boil resentment finally boiled over. "What is your end game?" I hissed, low enough to only be heard by her. "Is this a joke? Are you trying to prove a point?" She didn't flinch. Her smile didn't falter, but her eyes, usually so soft, were suddenly sharp, almost predatory. "James, I'm not doing anything. Your family invited me. They care about me. Maybe you need to ask yourself why they're so keen to keep me around and not so keen to support you right now." That line, the insinuation that I was the problem, the reason for the disconnect, was the ultimate knife twist. It threw my whole world into question. Was I really the one who had messed up so badly that my own family was gaslighting me into accepting my ex as their preferred child? I couldn't take it anymore. I turned and walked out of the party, not bothering to say goodbye. The next day, I didn't answer any of their calls. I needed distance, desperately. But the mystery of why persisted. There was something more than just her charm. My family wasn't cruel. They were intensely private and loyal. This level of sustained public affection for an ex was bizarre, almost a performance. It felt like a cover-up. What was the deep, unseen connection that superseded their bond with their own son? The answer, the shocking twist that changed everything, came 2 weeks later, not from them, but from a source I least expected. My grandmother, Selmore. Selmore was the matriarch, sharp as a tack and notoriously honest. I went to her house unannounced, needing an unbiased ear. I told her everything, the humiliation, the pain, the suspicion. She listened quietly, stirring her tea, her gaze fixed on a spot on the wall. When she finished, the silence stretched long and thick. "You were wrong to hurt them like this," she finally said, her voice a low rumble. "But it isn't about her, not entirely." She reached into a drawer and pulled out a worn, yellowing photograph. It was a picture of my father, Paul, as a young man, in his early 20s, standing with a woman I didn't recognize. But what caught my breath was the woman's face. She had the exact same eyes, the exact high cheekbones. "Who is that?" I asked, my heart hammering against my ribs. "That," Selmore whispered, her voice laced with ancient sorrow, "is Abigail, your father's first love, his fiancée. She was killed in a car accident the week before their wedding. It shattered him." I stared at the photo, the pieces starting to click into place with terrifying speed. Olivia wasn't just an ex-girlfriend. She was a ghost from the past, a living, breathing shadow of the woman my father had lost. Selmore gently took the photo back. "Olivia, she is the image of Abigail. The first time your mother, Jennifer, saw her, she went white. I suspect for your parents, inviting Olivia to their table is not about replacing you. It is about keeping Abigail's memory alive. It's about a form of healing they never found when they lost her." The realization hit me with a force that made the earlier fury seem childish. My breakup wasn't just a personal failing. It had opened an old, raw wound in my parents. My ex-girlfriend, the woman they couldn't let go of, was a substitute for a tragedy they never recovered from. She wasn't just a beloved ex, she was a stand-in daughter, a desperate, silent attempt to rewind the clock. And Olivia, she was knowingly, willingly playing the part. The thought of what this meant, a decades-old secret, a haunting resemblance, and the family choosing a ghost over their living son was the final, devastating blow. I finally understood the terrifying depth of their attachment, a bond rooted in a history I knew nothing about. The next family gathering was coming up, my mother's birthday, and I knew, with chilling certainty, that the confrontation I had avoided was now unavoidable, not with Olivia, but with the crushing reality of my family's past, and I was going to force them to look at the living, breathing mess they had created. The weeks leading up to my mother, Jennifer's birthday were a blur of cold silence and strained communication.
I didn't correct my family. I didn't tell them I knew the secret about Abigail. I let the silence become a weapon, sharpening my focus. I was moving past anger and into a zone of grim, calculated resolve. If they wanted to cling to a ghost, I would force them to confront the man standing right in front of them, the man they were actively alienating. My plan was simple, reckless, and guaranteed to create the explosion they had been trying to prevent for years. I RSVP'd yes, not just for myself, but also for Jessica. I sent Stephanie a text saying, "I'm bringing a +1. Jessica is looking forward to it." I knew that if the family had to choose between inviting 2 people they tolerated and 1 person they cherished, they would inevitably, awkwardly, try to accommodate all of us. The stage was set for pure, undeniable chaos. The day arrived. It was a formal dinner at a rented venue, a place too public, too grand for a private family drama, which only amplified the potential for a catastrophic scene. I walked in, hand firmly grasping Jessica's, who, bless her, looked like a beautifully dressed martyr. She knew what she was walking into, but she was standing by me, which was more than I could say for my parents.
The moment we stepped inside, the atmosphere changed. It wasn't warm, it was thick, humid with unspoken judgment and forced smiles. My father, Paul, approached me first, his face tight. "You brought her," he stated, not asked, his eyes flicking to Jessica. "Yes, Dad, she's my girlfriend. It's a family event, right?" I kept my voice level, polite, forcing him to keep his own composure. We didn't know the seating arrangement. It's tight," he mumbled, the first sign of genuine panic I'd seen from him. "I'm sure Olivia, the expert party planner, can squeeze us in," I replied, the casual jab landing squarely. And there she was, Olivia. She was wearing a dress that, infuriatingly, complemented my mother's gown perfectly. She wasn't just at the party, she was performing the role of the devoted daughter. She was standing next to Jennifer, showing her something on her phone, heads bowed in intimate conversation. When she looked up and saw Jessica and me, the gracious mask slipped for a fleeting second. Her eyes narrowed, recognizing the declaration of war in our presence. Jennifer finally noticed us. Her smile was brittle. She gave Jessica a strained greeting, then immediately turned to Olivia. "Olivia, darling, the seating chart. We need to make sure Jessica is comfortable." The insult was not subtle. Jessica was a problem to be managed, while Olivia was the solution. We were seated, me, Jessica, and Olivia, at a large round table with my brother, Robert, and my cousin, Mark. It was a psychological pressure cooker. Olivia dominated the conversation effortlessly, recalling a recent family trip she had taken with Robert's kids, discussing an upcoming medical appointment for Jennifer, and generally weaving herself into the fabric of their lives, while Jessica and I were silent satellites orbiting the center of attention. I watched Jessica trying to contribute, only to be politely, almost subconsciously, shut down by a look or interjection from Olivia. It was cold-blooded competitive sabotage, disguised as helpfulness. I waited until the main course was served, until the noise level had risen, until I knew I had the maximum number of potential witnesses. I leaned forward, interrupting Olivia mid-sentence, as she described a recipe Jennifer had taught her. "That's wonderful, Olivia," I said, my voice carrying just enough to cut through the din at our table. "It's really sweet how close you've become to my parents. It's almost like you're trying to fill a role." The table went silent. Olivia's eyes flashed, dangerous and defensive. "What does that mean, James?" "Oh, you know, the role of the daughter they always wanted, the one who looks exactly like Abigail." The effect was instantaneous and devastating. Jennifer gasped, a sound like a small, wounded animal, and dropped her fork. It clattered loudly on her plate. Paul across the table froze, his wine glass halfway to his mouth. His face went white chalk, the blood draining away to reveal decades of hidden grief etched beneath the surface. Olivia, however, recovered fastest. Her face hardened into pure ice. "I have no idea what you're talking about. That is a cruel thing to say, James." "Don't pretend you don't know," I pressed, the adrenaline surging. "You've seen the photos, haven't you?
You know you look like her. That's why my parents cling to you. That's why you're here instead of me. You're not just my ex-girlfriend, Olivia. You're their beautiful, convenient trauma replacement." My mother was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Paul finally slammed his glass onto the table, standing up, his chair scraping back violently. "That is enough, James," he roared, his voice trembling with a mix of fury and exposed agony. "How dare you drag the past into this? How dare you embarrass your mother on her birthday with your petty jealousy?" "Petty jealousy?" I stood too, confronting him across the table. "Jennifer is crying because I spoke the truth. You two have been living a lie, treating Olivia like a shrine to a woman who died 30 years ago, and I'm the one who gets cropped out of the family picture. You lost Abigail, Dad. I get that, but in trying to get her back, you actively, willingly lost me." I turned to Olivia, who was gripping the edge of the table, her composure finally shattered. "You love my family, James, and they loved me. Maybe you're right about the resemblance, but that's on them. What's on you is being the one who walked away from them, leaving a void I happened to fill. You want to know the shocking twist? They chose me, not because I look like a ghost, but because when you walked out, I stayed. I helped Jennifer when she was sick. I helped Paul with his business accounts. I showed up. You didn't. You can blame Abigail's ghost all you want, but the real reason they prefer me is because I showed them loyalty that their own son didn't." The final blow landed. It wasn't the past, it was the present. The ghost was the catalyst, but my own withdrawal had cemented her position. My blood family had been replaced by a carefully cultivated relationship built on need and proximity. I looked at my parents, two devastated, broken people who had used a young woman to patch a wound, and then at Olivia, who had been the willing plaster. The room was staring. The party was ruined, but the secret was out. I didn't say another word. I took Jessica's hand, turned, and walked out, leaving the stunned silence and the wreckage of my family's hidden life behind me. I didn't know if I would ever come back, but for the first time in a year, I felt the cold, clean air of a boundary finally established, no matter the cost.